so lost, gone for quite some time, forgetting all that I once loved. Feel like I'm dying. Hope is gone away. Fingers cold and numb. Eyes fade into white. As darkness overcomes. Bleeding from this pen. My soul.
Well, what is going on, you guys? We are live here on a Monday afternoon. It says that, everything that I've been able to gather says that Trump will be speaking live. Gonna make some sort of announcement about investments, or I don't even know. It says First Lady Melania is supposed to be a part of this. Make an announcement and hold a roundtable. So it'll be interesting. It was set for 1:30. It is now 1:35. So we are keeping a watch out to see if this announcement comes soon. We hope it will come soon. But we shall see. In the meantime, we're going to take a look at just some of the crazy stuff that's been going on, guys. Obviously, this week was huge. We reported live earlier last weekend, or I guess it was Friday. Friday's when we saw the crazy shenanigans take place where Trump Trump actually threw Zelensky out of the White House. And for good reason. I mean, how disrespectful can you be? You come into the White House and disrespect our people, our president, all because, what? You've got a bad attitude about things. You don't want to end the war. You want more death. You want this war to continue. And now you got these Democrats, these leftists, man. Oh, my gosh. They're poured out of the woodworks. We have a new reason to hate Trump now. What? Because he stood for America? Because he's the strongest leader you've ever seen since you've been alive? I mean, good Lord. These people, it's Russia, Russia, Russia again, you guys. Russia, Russia, Russia. Oh, what happened here? So that's the big thing now. It's Russia, Russia, Russia all over again. Oh my gosh, what a joke. What a joke. But that's what they're saying. That's what the leading narrative is on the left. No, it's not Russia, Russia, Russia. Trump's trying to end and essentially prevent World War III. He's trying to put an end to the death of all of these Ukrainians, which, guys, I don't know if you've been paying attention on social media, but the videos are pouring out of the woodworks to back up everything that's been said about this Ukraine administration. They're snatching people off the streets, young men, young teenagers. The average age for a Ukrainian soldier right now is like 43 years old. Why? Because there ain't no young men left. They're having to snatch them off the streets if they find them, young teenage boys, and just throw them in the back of vans, and they just disappear. Where do they disappear to? To that meat grinder called the front line of this Ukraine-Russia war. Reports of the massive expansion of the cemeteries there in Ukraine. Just absolute carnage. And Trump wants to end it. People say, well, Trump shouldn't be talking to Putin. Let me just counter that with, look, you've got two of the world's largest nuclear powers, superpowers, that are trying to build some sort of diplomacy, some sort of economic agreement to be able to get along with each other and participate in the world economic system together. Not as allies, not as friends, but as partners, business partners. That's a win for the world. Either one of these nations, ours included, could go at the spur of the moment and completely microwave this entire planet. I think it's a good idea that we be on talking terms with anybody that's got those sorts of powers. And Trump just did that. He has established talking terms with one of the world's largest nuclear powers. And people are mad about this? You've got Putin absolutely stating he wants to end the war. And I know the left, so he's only saying that. He'll just attack again later. There's no way to know that. There's no way to guarantee that. You know what else there's no way to guarantee? That if we put NATO forces in Ukraine, he won't go to nuclear weapons. You can't guarantee that. One thing you can guarantee is that a ceasefire deal will put interest on both sides of the aisle to deter any further action. Trump sees this. Anybody that's paying attention can see it if they would just open their eyes. Say, well, where's the guarantees for Ukraine? Well, I would say putting U.S. interests and corporations within the Ukraine borders that guarantee that the U.S. has an interest in Ukraine, not a military interest, because that's provocative to Russia, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to provoke them. The UK seems to want to provoke them. The UK seems to think that we can do whatever we want. We'll put powers there. We'll put boots on the ground and planes in the sky, says Keir Starmer. His own citizens don't want any part of this war. No part of it. They don't want their boots on the grounds of Ukraine, on the soil of Ukraine. They don't want that at all. Been massive protest about this all over the internet. It's not hard to see what the people of UK really want. That's their country back. They don't want to go fight in some other country. Hell, they're fighting for their own right now. They don't have freedom over there. Keir Starmer comes over here and talks to us here on American soil talking about how important freedom is. How about you go back home and walk that out, buddy? How about you live that out so your people can thrive again? You know, I mean, it seems like a whole big scheme to me being put together to try to drag the United States into a potential global nuclear war. I hope Donald Trump will stay very strong against this. The United States has no business backing militarily any idea of fighting with Ukraine against Russia. There's no gain for the United States in this. No gain at all. Truthfully, there's no gain for Europe in this. The fact that they're pushing it tells you there's some corrupt individuals and some corrupt positions that are holding on to their money laundering machine as hard as they can. You don't have to take my word for it, guys. Just do a little research into the past 10 years, 15 years. 10 years will get it. 10 years will get you there. The past 10 years. Do just a tiny bit of reading about what the news was saying about Ukraine for the last 10 years. What the news was saying about all of this stuff and how this stuff is played out and what actually took place in Ukraine to lead Putin into Ukraine the first time and to lead Putin back to Ukraine this time. It's provocation. You keep poking the bear, and when he wakes up, he's going to bite you. That's the way it works. Ukraine got bit. They've been told repeatedly and repeatedly over and over and over again. Don't do X, Y, and Z, or it will lead to military conflict. What does Europe do? What does NATO do? They did X, Y, and Z. Now Ukraine's wrapped in military conflict. So what is happening now? They're saying don't do X, Y, and Z, or it will escalate the military conflict. So what is NATO and the Europeans doing right now? They're doing X, Y, and Z all over again. And they think nothing's going to happen. I think Putin's made it very clear. If you do these things, you are crossing a line that I will react to. I will respond to. This ain't Obama, where he says, don't, there's a line in the sand. Don't. If you cross that line, you're going to provoke military act. You cross the line. Hold on. You cross. All right, I'm going to draw another line, but don't cross this line. If you cross this line, I'm going to. Why are you stepping over the line? Hold on a minute, people. Okay, I'm drawing. This is the final line. No, Putin doesn't just keep redrawing the lines. He draws a line, and when you cross it, he does what he told you he would do. Trump's the same way. He's going to do what he tells you he's going to do. Trump said he's not getting involved in this war, and he's not supporting an endless war for more death and destruction of European youth, Ukrainian youth, and certainly not American youth. It just isn't going to happen. And I hope he stands to that. I'm telling you, he's that kind of guy. I hope he doesn't make me eat those words, but we'll see. We're still waiting on this press conference to get started, so while we wait, we will take a look at some of the absolutely disgusting things that have been going on involving this whole Zelensky European Union that has taken place. This shouldn't be happening, but it is. So here's the list of nations that plotted together to go against any peace talks or any peace deals that the United States could have put forth. Right there, ladies and gentlemen, that is the face of the most dangerous union of people on the globe right now. These are the people that are pushing, and look how proud he is. He's so excited. They're calling him the leader of the free world. No. This man has helped Ukraine to commit genocide against its own people. This was in the news daily for like 8 years, leading all the way up to 2022. And then suddenly everything changed. And suddenly Ukraine is such a good nation, such a great nation. And this man is a hero. But these people right here are pushing very, very hard to provoke Russia. They are poking that bear, like we told you, like I said in the beginning. Poking that bear. It's a very dangerous thing that's happening right there, guys. Very, very dangerous thing that's happening. They need to be very careful because they, like Trump said in the Oval Office, like he said to Zelensky, you are gambling with the lives of millions of people. You are gambling with World War III. That is a true statement, boys and girls. That is a true statement. These people sought to make sure that no peace deal, no ceasefire could take place. Keir Starmer pledged a 100-year protection order for Ukraine. 100 years? Protection order? What does that even mean? Donald Trump has been very explicit that there is a snowball's chance in hell that Ukraine will become a NATO nation. Vladimir Putin has made it crystal clear that he is not okay with NATO building a military complex on his borders. Ukraine must remain neutral. These aren't hard things to ask, guys. As Americans, what would we do if, let's just say, if North Korea decided they were going to ally with Mexico and build a big nuclear military facility right on the northern border of northern Mexico? What would we do? Would we just let it happen? We just going to, okay, all right, but just be nice. What if China decided to move into Canada and build a big, massive military industrial complex right there in Toronto? We're just going to let that happen? We're just going to be okay with it? We're going to say, okay, Canada, you know what you're doing. We're going to, be nice, China. Are we going to be okay with that? The same thing holds true here. Putin is saying Ukraine must stay neutral. NATO is not allowed to come in here and build military bases right on my border. It's just it's not allowed. That's a line in the sand, you see. You can't cross it. Cannot cross it. Everyone was, all the left was very angry about this whole situation right here. Said that Donald Trump was bullying Zelensky. Trump and Vance were like high school bullies. Bullying Zelensky. No. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were standing up for America because this very disrespectful little man came into our Oval Office, into our country, started making demands, started advocating for endless war, spewing hate and anger and frustration. And anytime the mention of a ceasefire or peace or diplomacy was brought up, he had something to say, something negative to say. Called out J.D. Vance. Vance didn't say anything negative towards Zelensky. He just simply said diplomacy is crucial to ending this war. And then Zelensky goes off on this whole tangent. What diplomacy are you talking about, JD? What is this word diplomacy you're talking about? What are you trying to say? So Vance told him, this is what I'm trying to say. And how did Zelensky respond? Well, in Russian, he called J.D. Vance, while sitting right here in the White House, in the Oval Office, he mutters a cuss word, calls him a bitch. Right there. He said it in Russian, but it's been shown over and over and over again. This is what he did. This is how he responded. You call our vice president a bitch while you roll your eyes at everything that our president and vice president say to you while we are helping you? We're doing this for you. We don't have to do this. We've got nothing to gain by doing this. It's coming out now that that whole minerals deal had already been signed. With who, though? Not with us. Not with the United States. No, the UK jumped on that. The UK signed that deal before we could even get to it. What am I talking about? Well, let's listen in here. This is Newsmax.
To change the fact that on the 17th of January, the British signed an agreement with Ukraine to have exclusive rights to those deals. Kershaw, this is a battle of dueling narratives. You can go check it out. This is on the British UK website. It talks about this 100-year Ukraine and
there's your receipts in case you want to doubt this one.
Right.
Over security guarantees and economic development. So what happened is that I believe President Trump and his team found out that they were being played. So this has become a set of dueling narratives. The BBC just said today there's massive protests here. Zach Andrews just said all the European leaders are behind Zelensky. We are being played. We, the United States, are trying to be signed up to a deal that we provide security guarantees to a economic development deal that Keir Starmer has already signed them up to do. So the first thing it has to do is people have to take a step back and be honest with what's really going on. And so I think what happened here, I don't know the details, it wasn't in that meeting, but Kershaw, the president was trying to play a straight line deal to sign an agreement with them over this mineral rights deal, knowing full well that the British had already signed on this 3 days before his inauguration. So where we go from here is both sides, if this is going to work, if the Europeans really want our help, they're going to have to take a step back and start being honest with the United States about what's really going on.
100%. All the lies and all the backhanded under-table deals. We heard that Zelensky met with some of the Democrats, including some former Democrats and cabinet members of the Obama administration, prior to meeting with Trump in the Oval Office. And all of these Democrats supposedly, not even all of them were Democrats. I'm hearing one of them was a Republican, which you probably know who that is. I don't even need to name him. But I'm hearing that happened prior to their Zelensky and Trump's meeting in the Oval Office on Friday, and that those Democrats encouraged Zelensky not to take any deals, not to sign any deals with the Trump administration. Guys, when you aid foreign adversaries and aid foreign powers against the well-being of your own nation, there's a word for that. There's a word for that. The word's escaping me right now, but I'm sure some of y'all can figure it out. There's a word for that, and it surely should be investigated. Every single person involved in it should be investigated. There's actually a law against it, a whole different law against it, just to back up that specific word I'm talking about. Just so you guys know, there's fires burning in South Carolina, from what I understand. I don't think they're controlled at this point. I know this is off topic, but I just want to bring it up because the Carolinas have had a lot of crazy, unfortunate things going on in their area. A lot of people displaced and out of their homes. So please be praying for the people of South Carolina now and that these fires get contained quickly. I hear that, well, they've got water on top of everything else. They've got a lot of good firefighters over there that are fighting these fires and that are actually saving a lot of these neighborhoods, even though they may not be able to contain the fires necessarily. They're actually saving a lot of these neighborhoods. I'll show you a little picture of that right quick. I keep clicking on the wrong window. I apologize. This is going on, looks like that's not the window I wanted. Let's see. Can I just play it without? Sorry, that's a little loud. So you can see there's definitely a lot going on. They're spraying down these houses and they're keeping everything good and wet to hopefully protect the houses and protect the neighborhoods. But either way, there's a lot going on there. So be thinking about those people and be in prayer for the people of South Carolina. Let's see, has our press conference started yet? Still no. Man, I even got on here late, and what is it, 1:55 already? 20 minutes late? Am I missing it? Last time we did this, we searched and searched and searched and searched, and then finally the press conference happened, and we missed it. And I was like, how did we miss it? We were searching for it the whole time. But hopefully we don't miss this one. Sharing a little bit of the UK's frustration with their leadership here. This is, ran across this yesterday. I don't know her name. Yeah, I don't know her name. I apologize. Or her TikTok handle seems to be at the bottom. Hopefully you guys can see that. She is, I believe, Scottish. And she is reciting a poem that I'm assuming she wrote. It's very good stuff. Listen to this here. It's very good. Plus their accent. Oh my goodness. The accent is beautiful to me. I just really like it.
Listen here, Keir. I heard a wee snippet of your repertoire while she sat in Trump's Oval Office. The absolute cheek you had to say, free speech applies to all us. Your words shocked more than just little old me, and I'll quote you here and now. The UK has had free speech for a very long time, and we can still say our words out loud. Well, that's not true, is it, Keir? Just what you tell the big boys so you can play and be seen as one of the men as you sit with them and say that free speech is ours, it always will be. But you're a sneaky, cowardly liar, and every one of us can see right through you. But hey, God loves a trier. So try as you may to convince the world you're a man that speaks for the people, while she silences and locks us up, a manifesto built on pure evil. Working class people now poverty stricken, old people freezing to death, and jail sentences handed out for what? Well, we'll take a guess. For the speech that Keir claims is free, whilst our country lives in fear. So you better give yourself a pat in the back. You played a blinder, Keir. But I know this much, I trust in my heart each man will have his day for trying to bury the voice of the people, and we will have our say. So let's take back that speech he claims is free. Let's collectively use our tongues. Let's tell this government our voices will shout so long as there's air in our lungs.
Very well said. Oh, that's her handle there. Very, very well said, man. Oh, gosh, gives me chills, man. That is good stuff. Obviously, the people of the UK do not feel like they are free. They do not feel like they have freedom of speech. And why would they? They're being imprisoned for memes that the government doesn't like. They're being imprisoned for hurty words. Hurty words. Yeah, well, but they call it freedom. So back to this, guys. I'm going to just show you this Here's the difference. This is Western media. All this you're about to see here is the way that the media reported on Ukraine all the way up until like 2022. And then all of a sudden everything changed. All of a sudden. Every one of these news outlets and articles before February of 2022 were reporting neo-Nazism in Ukraine, genocide against Ukrainian civilians by their own government, the arresting of and persecution of political adversaries, certain religious groups, primarily Christians, on and on and on. Really, really terrible stuff. But then suddenly, we all must stand and unite with Ukraine. Why the sudden shift? Could it be because certain political figures were using what the media called the most corrupt nation in the entire country, or in the entire all of Europe, the entire continent of Europe? And they were using this corrupt nation for their own personal gains, for their money laundering schemes, for their corrupt actions? Could it be because certain very high-ranking officials, literally leaders of countries, ours included, were wrapped up in illegal corruption that they were funneling through this country? Now, all of a sudden, they want to protect all that or bury it one way or the other. Bury it or protect it. Control the narrative. Now the media all sings praises to Ukraine, and we're supposed to all do the same. All of us. You've got these celebrities pouring out of the woodworks again. Mind you, most of these celebrities are on that list that we're looking for to be released. That I got to just ask, Pam, where are you? What are you doing? Are we going to hear anything about the list? You just going to bury it? I mean, what's going on? Honestly, guys, I'm still trying hard to hold out hope that Pam Bondi truly is for us and for this administration, but I am starting to waver in my faith in her. She has done nothing but this right here. A whole lot of this and a whole lot of nothing else. I mean, what the hell are you doing, Pam? We need action. For the love of money, arrest somebody. Hold somebody accountable. You promised us action, you promised us results, but I haven't seen none of that. None of it. Not at all. So, we'll see if it eventually comes to that. There are some voices of reason within the European nation. Here was a good one I ran across yesterday. Speaking absolute truth here. Absolute truth. We've heard a couple of the leaders as well come out here recently. I think I've got a few of those posts that I'll show you as well. See here.
I was looking around social media today, and it struck me that a lot of people who like to start wars are suddenly very angry with one guy who wants to stop this war. And there are people who have taken us into one disaster after another, war in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, who have spent much of today on social media attacking Trump. What we're seeing, I think, is a reset of geopolitics, a reset. We're seeing the breakdown of what you might call the international liberal world order, which saw 20, 30 years of one foreign policy disaster after another. And Trump, you know, I was at the inauguration in America, and people around the president are basically saying, you know, they've had enough of that constant interventionism. They've had enough of Europe, by the way, again, maybe a controversial point, but Europe not paying its way on defence. And they've looked to Germany, they've looked to France, they've looked to Italy, they've looked to the UK, and they said, you know, what are you guys doing? You know, take Germany as an example. Germany under the Greens, absolutely bonkers, becoming more dependent upon Russia because of its ridiculous energy policy, becoming more dependent upon China, and then turning around and criticising Donald Trump when he says we've got to end this war. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense anymore. There are two things that need to happen. One is Ukraine obviously needs to be involved in the negotiated settlement. That's obvious. But the second key point is this now has to be a line in the sand. After this negotiated settlement, Europe is going to have to pay to defend itself. We cannot just rely on America, because understandably they're saying, look, we've got China, we've got our problems on the border, we've got to revitalise our economy. So I think for everybody who sat there criticising Donald Trump, I do think we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and think, actually, are we getting this right here in Europe?
And to the point that a number of...
100%. 100%. I saw one of the European leaders posted yesterday, there are 500 million Europeans asking for 300 million Americans to come over to Europe and protect us against 140 million Russians. The math doesn't math, guys. It doesn't add up. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, these people got to do something for themselves, and they damn sure need to stop poking and prodding and trying to start wars that we don't need and don't want. But here we are, dealing with exactly that. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm still waiting on this press conference to start, and it looks like we might be getting closer here. Soon, First Lady Melania holds a roundtable. Okay, well, I'm still also expecting Trump to make an announcement. So they said. Yeah, it's not started yet. It looks like people are kind of coming in and taking their seats, though. So hopefully very, very soon we will see that get started. So here's RFK speaking about some of this stuff that was going on. Now, this is an older video, but it's very interesting. Very interesting. We keep asking, where did all the money go that we sent to Ukraine? Zelensky himself says, I don't know. I don't know. So where did it go? Let's listen in and see what RFK has to say about it.
Happen. It's a war that Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden's asking for another $60 billion. But the big, big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine?
Listen.
He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who
there
do you
is,
think
guys.
owns every one of those companies? BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, and black against white, and all these divisions that they sow.
That is reality. That's reality, guys. You know what's unfortunate? I've noticed the girl that's told that recited the poem, and then this video that I just showed you. You notice that background music in there? Just so you guys know, YouTube will find any background music in any of these things and use that to demonetize our channel. They do it over and over and over and over again. Every single video I post gets demonetized and then gets buried and shadow banned, and nobody sees it. I mean, I'm looking, we've got like 3, 5, 6 people on here total at any given moment. And we're like one of the most heaviest shadow ban channels that I've ever seen. It's crazy. Crazy. People say, well, Trump and Vance were bullying. They were the bullies. They were mean. Oh, you know what? Actually, we're going to jump right over here to live at the White House, because I believe this has started, whatever this is, this little round table. So it looks like we've got Ted Cruz speaking right now. Let's listen in.
The Take It Down Act empowers victims across the entire United States. It makes it a felony for these deviants to publish any non-consensual intimate images, including fake, lifelike pornographic images of real people.
This source is from
Just as important.
Right Side Broadcasting, you guys. Right Side Broadcasting Network. They're a very good network. Check them out and support them.
So that every victimized American, not just the rich and famous, but everyone, has a right to get these disturbing images taken offline immediately. We are today one step closer to making this dream a reality. Just 3 weeks ago, the Senate unanimously passed the Take It Down Act. Now it goes to my House colleagues, and I have every assurance and confidence that the House will take this up, pass it, and put it on the president's desk so that we can protect the victims of these predators. And we're very excited to be joined today by the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump. Mrs. Trump has long been a champion for protecting our nation's children with her Be Best initiative. And I can think of no more important issue for our First Lady to lean on than protecting children online. Your success will mean our children's success and healing for thousands of victims. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump.
Thank you so much, Senator Cruz.
I think that should be on. It's not very loud.
Good afternoon. I'm here with you today with a common goal: to protect our youth from online harm. The widespread presence of abusive behavior in the digital domain affects the daily lives of our children, families, and communities. Addressing this issue is essential for fostering a safe and supportive environment for our young people. I hope today's roundtable builds awareness of the harm caused by non-consensual intimate imagery, and eventually the approval of the Take It Down Act bill in Congress. In today's AI-driven world, the threat of privacy breaches is alarmingly high. As organizations harness the power of our data, the risk of unauthorized access and misuses of personal information escalates. We must prioritize robust security measures and uphold strict ethical standards to protect individual privacy. As First Lady, my commitment to the Be Best initiative underscores the importance of online safety. In an era where digital interactions are integral to daily life, it is imperative that we safeguard children from mean-spirited and hurtful online behavior. Ensuring their protection is not just a responsibility, but a vital step in nurturing tomorrow's leaders. Here with us today is Alison Berry, a 15-year-old brave young woman. Alison Spears used AI to create non-consensual intimate images of her and then spread the images across social media. They superimposed her face into pornographic content without her consent, solely to humiliate her. And authored, Alison's family contacted the social media companies for help. Their efforts fell upon deaf ears. Ultimately, the fake images circulated worldwide. It's heartbreaking to witness young teens, especially girls, grappling with the overwhelming challenges posed by malicious online content, like deepfakes. This toxic environment can be severely damaging. We must prioritize their well-being by equipping them with support and tools necessary to navigate this hostile digital landscape. Every young person deserves a safe online space to express themselves freely without the looming threat of exploitation or harm. To the brave survivors of NCII, your strength inspires the courage in others. To the advocates, your voices power our youth and hopefully bring change. And to the families, your unwavering love is a pillar of resilience. Thank you again to Senator Cruz, Speaker Johnson, House Majority Leader Scalise, Representative Salazar, Chairman Guthrie, Chairwoman McCain, Chairman Hare, and Representative Kahan for being here today and for your dedication to this important cause. I was heartened to learn that Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar united to prioritize this fundamental matter. I must admit, however, I expected to see more Democrats, leaders with us here today, to address this serious issue. Surely, as adults, we can prioritize Americans' children ahead of partisan politics. I urge Congress to prioritize the passage of the Take It Down Act bill. This legislation is essential for addressing the growing concerns related to online safety, protecting individual rights, and promoting a healthier digital environment. By advocating this bill, Congress can take an important step towards ensuring accountability and fostering responsibly online behavior. The Take It Down Act bill represents a powerful step toward justice, healing, and unity. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I want to thank the First Lady for being here, and your presence and your leadership on this issue is incredibly important, and I'm confident it's going to play a critical role in accelerating the passage of this bill and getting it passed into law so that we can protect all our kids and young women and young men across the country. I now want to turn to the leader in the House, Representative Salazar, for her remarks.
There. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to the First Lady of the United States, to Senator Cruz, for having taken up this cause. The force, as Senator said, the force of your presence, Madam, is not only going to save children's lives, but will also make this legislation the law of the land I have no doubt that the House of Representatives will make this law a priority, as I have spoken to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So thank you for making our jobs as legislators a lot more effective. As the Senator said, the name of the legislation that we're presenting is called the Take It Down Act. Its mission is very simple. It's profound and long-lasting. It stops cyber abuse. It prevents bullying one child against another. Even more important, is going to prevent suicide out of shame. It is outrageously sick to use the images, the face, the voice, the likeness of a young, vulnerable female to manipulate them, to extort them, to humiliate them publicly just for revenge or just for fun. That is why we created this bill, and it's going to stop the abuse throughout social media. It is widely known that 99% of the time, the victim, most of them girls, don't even know that their faces, their bodies, their intimate parts are being circulated around the internet in fake, compromising pornographic images. But perception is reality, unfortunately. And even though these images do not belong to them, they are paying the price dearly. So they see it, they live it, they have to suffer it, and they don't have any recourse, as the Senator said, up until today, up until now. Our bill, the Take It Down Act, finally is sending a very big message to big tech that they have to bring down these images, fake images, within 48 hours. No more time than that, no more excuses. If not, big tech then will be just as guilty as the aggressors. Snapchat,
Wow.
Instagram,
That's
TikTok
crazy.
will have to comply within 48 hours when the victim demands that they take down those pornographic images. Now our messages to the bullies, to the perverts, to the predators. If you dare to do this to another innocent child, you are going to go to prison. You will serve jail time. That will be a great place where you can sit and ponder what you did and be consumed by your conscience. Up until now, the parents of victims found that the schools, they couldn't do anything. The police couldn't do anything. Nothing. Big tech couldn't do anything, according to them. No more. This legislation has taken the power away from the aggressors and the accomplices and have given it back to the victims and their parents. What a great honor for me to be part of this initiative. Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam, for making this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Salazar, for your friendship, for your leadership on this important issue. I now want to introduce our victim advocates who will share their stories and explain why it is important that we urgently pass the Take It Down Act. Here with us first are two teenage victims of AI-generated sexually exploitative images. Miss Elliston Berry of Aledo, Texas, and Miss Francesca Mani of Westfield, New Jersey. Both of these young ladies were victims of virtually the identical crime within weeks of each other. Elliston was just 14 years old when a male classmate of hers took an innocent photo off her Instagram page and used an app to create an explicit image, a deep fake AI, that in turn was sent to her classmates at school. Elliston helped inspire the Take It Down Act. She's a Texan, and she and her mother contacted my office and relayed what happened, and we were horrified, and she was the initial inspiration for writing this bill. And Melania, I'll tell you an amazing aspect to it. When I was sitting down with Elliston and her mother, Anna, who's here as well, I asked in my office, I said, what's happened to the images? And they looked at me with enormous frustration, and they said, they're still up. It's been 9 months. Elliston's mom said she had called Snapchat, she'd emailed them, she tried repeatedly, take this garbage down of my daughter. And she had gotten no response at all, no movement. I turned to my staff in my office that afternoon, and I said, I want you to get the CEO of Snapchat on the phone today. I want those pictures down today. Within 2 hours, they pulled them down.
Wow.
Now, it should not take a sitting senator or a sitting member of Congress picking up the phone to get a picture down or a video down. It should be the right of every American. Every teenage girl victimized should have the right to get this garbage taken down. And this bill will give them that right as a matter of federal law. And with that, Elliston, if you would share with the First Lady and share with everyone here just what happened to you, just tell your story.
Thank you, Senator Ted Cruz. I was just 14 years old when a classmate created AI nudes of me from an innocent social media picture. I was 14 years old when I was violated all over social media, and I was just 14 years old when my innocence was stripped away. October 2nd, 2023, I woke up to messages from a friend notifying me that these photos of me were circulating social media. Pictures from a past Instagram photo with a nude body and my face attached, made from AI. Fear, shock, and disgust were just some of the many emotions I felt. I felt responsible and began to blame myself and was ashamed to tell my parents despite doing nothing wrong. As I attended school, I was scared of the reactions of someone could recreate these photos, and I lived in fear that they would resurface and that they would get brought up as I attended school. The school was little to no help and said that it was out of their control. I not only blamed the classmate Big Tech. The boy used a Google app called DNGG that existed to remove articles of clothing from a photo available for all ages for free. While that app is no longer available, thousands of other apps similar are available. Additionally, social media needs to be required to take action. It wasn't until Ted Cruz's office heard my story and reached out to Snapchat personally, and then my photos were removed. We need to hold Big Tech accountable to take action. I came here today to not only promote this bill, but to fight for the freedom of so many survivors. Millions of people, male, female, teenage, children, kids, all are affected by the rise of this image-based sexual abuse. This is unacceptable. The Take It Down Act will give a voice to the victims and provide justice. I want to say thank you to Senator Ted Cruz and his team. Thank you to all the advocates pushing this bill and this legislation. It is vital for the growing of technology. The situation is bigger than politics. This bipartisan bill is to protect America's children. Thank you to the First Lady and the House leadership for understanding how important this issue is and taking time to learn about this vital piece of legislation. I share my story to give victims a voice they never heard and had changed this horrible situation into something good. Thank you to everyone who is supporting this. It is so inspiring to know that my voice is being heard, giving hope to not only me, but to all the many people that have been affected by this. It is truly so amazing how this awful situation has turned into good. Thank you.
So I'll tell you, Elliston and I and her mother several months ago had the opportunity to do a number of TV interviews, and we went on Good Morning America, and at the end of it, I think Good Morning America was ready to offer Elliston an anchor spot. I think the folks interviewing us got nervous for their job.
Yeah, she's very well spoken. That's for sure. She did a very good job. You know, I don't understand how you're using the faces and the identities of children to create sexually explicit pornographic material. How is that not the same thing as child pornography? How does it not count? How does it not constitute the exact same crime? This is producing child pornography. We got to go through. We got to write a whole new bill, a whole new law change here just to be able to combat it. Big Tech thinks it's okay as long as it's computer generated to sexually exploit minors. This is disgusting. This isn't free speech. It's not free speech to sexually exploit a minor, or anybody for that matter, anybody without their consent. I don't, that's crazy they're having to even write a bill for this.
Okay. At 14 years old, my classmates created deep fake images of me and other girls at my high school. The most disturbing part, not just that they thought it was okay, but that the school failed to hold them accountable. While the girls' names were announced over the intercom, the boys were quietly pulled from their classrooms, a blatant violation of privacy and disrespect towards us.
That's crazy.
Despite the seriousness of the incident, only one boy received a one-day suspension. 2 years later, those responsible are still in my school representing in team sports as if nothing ever happened. That is not okay. When I asked my school why they weren't using the code of conduct or HIB policies, their response, they need to be updated to include AI. My response was, then update it. It took them 1 year to make changes, yet my mom's lawyers created an updated version within a week of that incident. The HIB investigation, which was supposed to take 10 days, dragged on for almost a year. Completely unacceptable. The school's only response to the community was a single email dismissing the issue as widespread misinformation. This silence sent a dangerous message. To the girls, you are not worth fighting for, and to the boys, what you did is okay. I expected clear and decisive action. The school should have said, this is not okay, and you are expelled. In school, the question should not be about legality alone. It should be about what is right, what is ethical. Teenagers might not know all the laws, but they do know when something is wrong. Schools need to take immediate, serious action to ensure that AI exploitation, harassment, and deepfake abuse are met with real consequences. We need laws, and with the help of Senator Cruz, Congresswoman Salazar, and now the involvement of you, the First Lady, I truly believe we are on track to passing a federal law to protect women and children. Even though AI exploitation can happen to anyone, 96% of victims of AI misuse are women and children. So we are seriously vulnerable, and we do need laws. The Department of Education must finally step up and issue clear AI guidelines on how schools should handle these incidents nationwide. AI isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay. Schools must be proactive, not just in teaching students how to protect their image or avoid committing a crime through AI misuse, but also in teaching how to use AI as a tool for advancement. Throughout my advocacy, I have met incredible organizations, leaders who are focused on legislation and regulation, but that's just one part of the conversation. Since being named one of Time 100's most influential people in AI, I've had the privilege of meeting brilliant minds using AI to advance society in research, medicine, education, climate control, art, and more. Yes, AI needs regulation, but we also need to acknowledge its potential and prepare the next generation through AI literacy programs in schools ASAP. I love JFK's speech, where he challenges us to ask what we can do for our country. Lately, feels like everyone is asking what the country can do for us. With AI, we should all be asking, what can I do by myself to advance and empower my future using AI? Now, let's be clear, every aspect matters, but it must start with legislation. A strong federal law is crucial, one that shifts powers back to the victims, ensuring they can remove harmful images within 48 hours. That's not just policy, that's real tangible protection. That's take it down. We need this to pass. Thank you.
Very well said.
Francesca, thank you also for your courage and your strength and your clarity. Both you and Elliston are inspirational, and we're proud to have you with us today. As Francesca mentioned, over 90% of the victims of non-consensual intimate images are either women or young girls. It doesn't just affect teenagers. Adults can also be victimized. And Breeze Lou, when she was 24 years old, she got a nightmare phone call from her friend that an explicit video of hers had been posted on a pornography website. That phone call started a series of events in which Breeze would rise to lead the fight for the removal of these abusive images. Breeze, thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Tell us about what you experienced and what you've done to try to stop it.
Thank you. It is both humbling and empowering for me to be here today. On behalf of millions of survivors, I'd like to thank you for giving us a voice and shining a spotlight on this critical issue. We stand at a defining moment in human history. Artificial intelligence has given us unprecedented power and brought profound transformation. But with extraordinary technology advancement, we also face immense challenges. In April 2020, my life changed forever. A friend called to tell me that a video of me was circulating on Pornhub. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I have never even visited Pornhub, but when I clicked the link, I saw my face on a pornographic video. The devastation I felt is indescribable. I was humiliated, dehumanized, and overwhelmed with shame. But when I sought help, the system failed me. I was victim blamed and slut shamed while the perpetrator faced zero consequences. As more videos spread to hundreds of malicious websites, I nearly lost everything. My dignity, my reputation, and I almost lost my life. For every victim, there is a moment when the ground disappears beneath you, when the shame, the violation, the loss of control, it all consumes you. And then when you reach for help, you find there is none. No accountability, no recourse, just a system that shrugs and says, it's too complicated, it's impossible to fix, the internet is too big. But America is a nation that does not accept impossible. In 1969, an American set his foot on the moon and said, that is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. This nation did something that was once believed to be impossible. With computing power equivalent to a basic calculator, we accomplished one of the greatest feats in human history. When it comes to ending online violence, America must lead. The Take It Down Act is an essential first step. It creates accountability where there was none before. It ensures that victims can have harmful content removed swiftly, lifting the unbearable burden survivors have long carried alone. If legislation is the foundation, technology is the bridge. History will not remember us for the tools we build. It will remember us for how we choose to wield it. The internet, AI, the digital tools are not inherently good or evil. They reflect the values of those who control them.
100%.
This is a tech-enabled problem, and it requires a tech-enabled solution. The same technology that created this issue can also power its solution, and this is why we find hope. And this is what my work at Electo AI is about, building human-centered AI to combat AI abuse. To those who say this problem is too big, I say this: America is not in the habit of backing down from hard fights. Today, the smartphone in our pocket holds computing power thousands of times greater than what NASA used during the Apollo program. We have the technology to fix this. We have the legislation to create accountability. Now we need the will to act. This is a nation that has always led the world in shaping the future, not waiting for someone else to do it first. The future is being decided now. So let us rise to this challenge, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. It is time to reclaim our humanity in a digital age. Let history show that when faced with injustice, we did not stand idly by. We fought, we built, we progressed, and we won. Pass this bill. Take action. Let us build a digital future that is safe, just, and worthy of the generations to come. Do not let my yesterday become their tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Breeze, thank you very much for your courage and your clarity. What you experienced and Elliston experienced and Francesca experienced was a grotesque violation of your privacy and your fundamental rights. And each of you has used that pain to advocate for others and to try to stop someone else from being victimized the way you have been. Although the vast majority of the targets of this abuse are women and young girls, young boys can be targeted as well. And the FBI has warned that there's a growing threat of sextortion deliberately targeting minors online, where evil people use either real or fake explicit images to extort their victims both sexually and financially. And in some instances, the results can be even more devastating and catastrophic. And that was the tragic situation that South Carolina State Representative Brandon Guffey and his family experienced in 2022. Representative Guffey, would you please share what happened with your son?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. July 27th, 2022, I lost my oldest son, Gavin Guffey, to suicide. We quickly found out that he was being extorted online, that someone pretending to be a young female at another college requested images to be shared back and forth, and as soon as he shared those images, he took his life. It was an hour and 40 minutes from the time that he was contacted until the time that he took his life. At that time, I had never heard of the crime of sextortion. I was always a more liberty-minded politician, even though I hate to say that word. And, you know, I wanted freedom as much as possible. But as I started looking in...
Looks like we're going to the Donald Trump thing. Very hard
much.
stuff
This
to
is a
hear
very
there, guys. That was...
big day for a lot of reasons.
We'll
but,
touch back on that in a minute.
This gentleman is a very unique man. This, I think I could say in the world of chips, certainly, but in the world pretty much of business, nobody's done what he's done. Very, for those of you that are into that world, you would say, wow, he's a legend, but he is a legend, and it's an honor to be with you. Very great honor. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Welcoming from TSMC, which is the biggest there is at a level that you can't even calculate, frankly. CC Way to the White House for a very historic announcement. This is a tremendous thing for our country and hopefully for his company. We're also pleased to be joined by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and White House AI and the crypto czar David Sachs, another two very highly respected people. It's great to have you guys involved. And David, thank you very much for coming on. David is sort of the king of intellect in that world. We have some good people. Today, Taiwan Semiconductor is announcing that they will be investing at least $100 billion in new capital in the United States over the next short period of time.
That's great.
To build state-of-the-art semiconductor manufacturing facilities. I think mostly it's going to be in Arizona, which is what I understand, which is a great state. I like it because I won it, but I won most of them actually. But I did. We won it. We won it big.
I like it because I won it.
AI chips in the world will be made right here in America, and it'll be a big percentage of the chips made by his company. But as you know, they're based mostly in Taiwan. And they're far and away the biggest.
That's a huge win, guys. We need that. $1 billion in new investment will go into building 5 cutting-edge fabrication facilities in the great state that we just discussed, Arizona, and will create thousands of jobs, many thousands of jobs, and they're high-paying jobs. In total, today's announcement brings Taiwan Semiconductor investments to about $165 billion they've started already. Wow.
Among the largest new foreign direct investments in the United States. Apple, as you know, made a big announcement last week of $500 billion, and we have some others that have announced. We have many that want to announce, but I don't have time to do all of these announcements, I tell you. But for you, I'm doing the announcement.
Thank you.
This will create hundreds of billions of dollars in economic activity and boost America's dominance in artificial intelligence and beyond. Semiconductors are the backbone of the 21st century economy, and really, without the semiconductors, there is no economy, powering everything from AI to automobiles to advanced manufacturing. And we must be able to build the chips and semiconductors that we need right here in American factories with American skill and American labor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what we're doing. As you know, Taiwan pretty much has a monopoly on that market. And I think pretty much is not a term that's even appropriate. They do have a monopoly, and this is a tremendous move by the most powerful company in the world. It's a matter of economic security. It's also a matter of national security for us.
Mm-hmm.
And at
Especially
the same
with China.
time, Mr. Wei will be able to diversify and have his a tremendous presence in another place, and a very safe place. And I want to thank Taiwan Semiconductor for doing the announcement, and I'd like to ask Mr. Wade to say a few words, if you might, and I'd also like to ask Howard and David, you can say a couple of words, but maybe you should go first because right
Well,
now he's the
that'll be-
most important man in the room. I'm sorry, fellas. Please.
That'll be a
Thank you
huge
very
advantage. Give us a huge advantage over China. Just, dude, these semiconductor chips, they're used in everything we do.
I'm a little bit nervous, so I have to pull out my piece of paper. Mr. President, Secretary Ragnick, and David, I didn't know that your title. But, okay. First, I want to say thank you to Mr. President to give me this opportunity to announce our big project in the U.S. TSMC is the world's largest chip manufacturing funded by Dr. Morris Chen in 1987. It's now at the forefront of semiconductor technology, supporting AI advancement and industry growth. In fact, I would like to wind back the time that in 2020, we have to thank President Trump's vision and his support. So TSMC started the journey of establishing the advanced chip manufacturing in Arizona. And now, let me proudly say, now the vision become reality. In Phoenix, Arizona, with 3,000 employees, we are producing the most advanced chip made on U.S. soil. With the success of our first fab, so we are now very happy to announce we are going to invest additional $100 billion in addition to our current $65 billion investment in Arizona. We are going to build 3 more new fabs after we promised 3 fabs already, and another 2 very advanced packaging fab, and most important, R&D center also in Arizona. For this, all the investment, $165 billion, is going to create thousands of high-paid jobs, as the president just announced. And we are, most important, actually, we are going to produce many AI chips. We are going to produce many chips to support the AI progress and to support the smartphones progress. And again, with that, I want to thank President Trump again for his support. In addition, I also want to thank my customers in the U.S., such as Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom. They all support TSMC's manufacturing in the U.S. Without their support, we probably cannot make it through. So again, I want to thank them. Also, I'd like to thank the TSMC's employee. Without their effort, we just cannot make it today. That's all I want to say, and thank you.
Thank you. Good to know. Huge investment, $100 billion extra dollars. They said $165 billion, I think.
So I'm thrilled to be here today because President Trump has made it a fundamental objective to bring semiconductor chip manufacturing home to America. Under the Biden administration, TSMC received a $6 billion grant, and that encouraged them to build $65 billion. So America gave TSMC 10% of the money to build here. And now you're seeing the power of Donald Trump's presidency, because TSMC, the greatest manufacturer of chips in the world, is coming to America with a $100 billion investment. And of course, that is backed by the fact that they can come here because they can avoid paying tariffs. So the idea is come to America, build greatness in America, build for the American customers, the Apple, NVIDIA, that whole list that Chairman Wei gave. in order to bring production to America. So we're really, really excited. This continues the most incredible path you've ever seen in these first weeks and months of the Trump administration of incredible manufacturing coming to America. The keys that the president has called out are coming here. They're coming here in huge size because they want to be in the greatest market in the world, and they want to avoid the tariffs that if they're not here, they'd have to suffer. So I want to congratulate CC Wei for bringing in this incredible $100 billion investment, but it's on the shoulders of our President Donald Trump, which is why he's coming. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, the products that TSMC makes are literally the most important products in the world. I mean, these advanced chips power everything. They power AI, they power your phone, they power your cars, and without them, the whole modern economy would stop, but they're not made in the United States. So for TSMC to move here is a huge, huge development, and we owe that to President Trump's leadership on the economy and Secretary Lutnick as well. And CC, thank you for coming here. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Huge
So
opportunity.
thank you very much. A big percentage of chips with this investment will be made now, a big percentage. Worldwide, we had very little, almost none. We used to have a lot with Intel, but we had very little. And we'll be at close to 40% of the market with this transaction and a couple of others that we're doing. That's a tremendous leap, like a leap that nobody would have really said was possible. So I just want to thank you all for being here. If you want a couple of questions, ideally on this subject, yes.
The number of jobs that will be created. He said
you're probably talking about 25,000 jobs, but it'll get bigger and bigger with time. Knowing this gentleman, it'll get bigger and bigger. There'll be no stopping him. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
In addition to the job, you talked about national security, and that's one thing I think a lot of Americans don't understand. Explain the national security aspect of this.
Well, without the chips and semiconductors, nothing runs today. You can't buy a car without them. You can't get a radio, a television, you can't get anything. And we thought it was very important, obviously business-wise, but we thought even in terms of national security to have this large percentage of the chips, semiconductors, and other things that they make, the most important product. And not a product that you can really copy. It takes years and years. You know, on the needle of a pin is total genius. I mean, they can put things, something the size of the needle, the point of a pin, they put information that is just not even believable. So if you would see this, it's just really something. Yes, Brian?
One aspect to that. Honda announced they're coming to Indiana because of the tariffs. Once again,
that's right.
Bringing additional jobs in manufacturing.
That's huge too, by the way.
Well, Honda's coming, and I told
the
you
Honda
about
Civic
Apple,
will be built in Indiana.
Starting to build massively here, $500 billion, and we have many other companies going to be announced, but we had many that have already announced, and now it's going to be great. It's looking really strong. I don't think this country has ever seen anything like we're seeing right now. Now, the tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And
this was the point of the tariffs, guys. Everybody criticized the tariffs.
Canada or Mexico, if they're going to build car plants,
but yet, here's all the business pouring back into the United States. The United States is going to be a producer again and not just a consumer. This is how we get back to a better economy. We get back to affordable things.
I can think of As an example, North
affordable
Carolina,
goods and
they had the
services.
grid. I used to go there to buy furniture.
Honda
for
Civic going to be
hotels.
built in Indiana.
And
It's
it's
going to
been wiped
increase
out.
jobs. It's going to increase. It's going to
business
bring down
over
the
to
prices
other
of these things as we sell these
And
cars
now
to other
it's all
nations.
going to come back into North Carolina, the furniture manufacturing business.
Furniture
please.
manufacturing back to North Carolina.
Deal now dead, or can it be revived? What's your
Well, I'll let you know. We're making a speech. You probably heard about it tomorrow night, so I'll let you know tomorrow night. But no, I don't think so. I think it's a great deal for us because Biden very, very foolishly, stupidly, frankly, gave $300 billion and $350 billion more accurately to a country to fight and to try and do things. And you know what happened? We get nothing. We get nothing. Just gave it. We could have rebuilt our entire U.S. Navy with $350 billion. Think of it, $350 billion. We could have rebuilt our U.S. Navy. So he gave it away as fast as the money could be gone. And what we're doing is getting that all back and a lot more than that. And we need, it's very important for this business that we're talking about here with chips and semiconductors and everything else. We need rare earths. And the deal we have is we have the finest rare earths that you can.
Sir, Mr. President, what do you need to see from President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Good question.
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave $100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created. And we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed 100%. By the thousands every single week.
The war has
Last
to
week,
stop, man. The death has to stop.
2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death. And they're losing thousands of soldiers a week. And that's not including the people that get killed every time a town goes down or a missile goes into a town. And I want to see it stop. Yes.
Are you considering canceling military aid to Ukraine? And can we get a reaction to what the Prime Minister said, that your administration is bringing U.S. worldview in alignment with Moscow's?
So this is a deal that should have never happened. This is a deal that would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It didn't happen. It was never even close to happening. If I were president, would not have happened. And October 7th would not have happened in Israel. And inflation wouldn't have happened. And Afghanistan, disastrous, the way they withdrew. Not the fact that they withdrew, but the way they withdrew would have never happened. And we would have had Bagram right now instead of China having it. It was 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. We would have kept Bagram, with one of the biggest air bases in the world. All of these things happened, and it's a shame. But it is what it is, and now we're here. I want to see it end fast. I don't want to see this go on for years and years. Now, President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
If we keep funding it, it will.
Could this minimize the impact of the U.S. with chips should China decide to isolate Taiwan or China decide to take Taiwan?
Well, it's a very interesting point. It's a great question, actually, but this would certainly, I can't say minimize. That would be a catastrophic event, obviously,
Mhm.
but it will at least give us a position where we have, in this very, very important business, we would have a very big part of it in the United States. So it would have a big impact if something should happen with Taiwan.
Are you looking at relieving Russian sanctions if there is a peace deal?
Well, we're going to make deals with everybody to get this war, including Europe and European nations. And they've acted very well. You know, they're good people. I know most of them are friends of mine, the heads of state, the heads of the various countries, prime ministers from.
He's just being.
I got.
He's just being nice right now because that's not true.
4 prime ministers and 5 presidents called me over the last 2 days, and they want to work it out. They want to get it worked out. And I think they're also, you know, they're talking money, but the money is less important than the deaths. We're talking thousands of young people a week. And people would say, why do I care about Ukraine, young people? Why do I care about, and not all young, but they're pretty young. You know, Ukraine is running a little bit low, and they're getting older. They're recruiting older people. It's a very, very sad thing that's happening over there. And we want to get it finished. We want to stop the death.
Average age of the Ukraine soldier is 43 years old, guys.
For Canada and Mexico to make a deal
43.
before midnight, and should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take
No
effect
room
soon?
left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, you know, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico. And as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico. And that's a very important thing to say. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Have you decided if you're going to suspend military aid to Ukraine? Have you made that decision?
Well, I haven't even talked about that right now. I mean, right now, we'll see what happens. A lot of things are happening right now as we speak. I mean, literally as we speak. I could give you an answer and go back to my office, the beautiful Oval Office. I could go back into the Oval Office and find out that the answer is obsolete. It's like his business. It's obsolete. You come up with a new chip and it's obsolete about 2 minutes later, right? But that's what's good about his business. That's why he's the only one that's successful in it. But
To follow up my colleague's question, from Russia saying that your foreign policy is largely in line with their vision, should that be concerning to Americans?
said what?
Should that be concerning to Americans?
Read the statement.
That Russia says that your administration's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with their vision.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes 2 to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine.
Mhm.
You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important, and from us. I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It can be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. We talk about suffering. They've suffered. But if you think about it, under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big...
I love that he said Biden.
big Ukraine. The whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. So...
That's
I
what I
can
call
only
him,
say,
Biden.
You can go back to Bush, you can go back to Obama, and go back to Biden. They took a lot. The only one they didn't get, you know what I gave them? I gave them anti-tank missiles. That's what I gave them. I gave them sanctions on Russia. I gave them javelins. You know the javelins? You know when they took out all those tanks? You know the tanks were heading to Kiev by the hundreds, and they were unstoppable. And I gave them javelins. So, you know, I really, Putin is the one that will tell you this has not been so good for them. The fact is that I just want fairness. I want fairness. But think of it. I gave Russia nothing except grief. I gave them nothing. I gave them sanctions and javelins. That's what I gave them. Obama gave them sheets, and you heard that statement before. It's a very famous. Trump gave them javelins, and Obama gave them sheets, and then they say how close I am to Russia. And let me tell you, we have to make a deal because there are a lot of people being killed that shouldn't be killed. But remember, Trump gave them nothing, and the other presidents gave them a lot. They gave them everything.
You met with Argentine President Javier Milei at CPAC. He wants to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. Is that something that you would consider even with Argentina?
I'll consider anything. And Argentina, I think he's great, by the way. I think he's a great leader. He's doing a great job. He's doing a fantastic job. Brought it back from oblivion. Yeah, we'll look at things. We're looking at the UK with things. It doesn't have to be tariffs, but tariffs are easy. They're fast. They're efficient. And they bring fairness. For instance, when people kill their dollar, their equivalent of the dollar, whether it's the yuan or the yen in Japan or the yuan in China, when they drop them down, that puts us at a very unfair disadvantage. So all I have to do is say, Howard, we're going to have to raise the tariffs a little bit because I've called President Xi, I've called the leaders of Japan to say you can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You can't do it because it's unfair to us. It's very hard for us to make tractors, Caterpillar, here when Japan, China, and other places are killing their currency, meaning driving it down. So all of these things add up. And the way you solve it very easily is with tariffs, because when they do that, instead of having to make phone calls every day like I used to do with certain leaders, President Xi a little bit, a lot of phone calls, talking about the fact that they're lowering their yuan. They're lowering it down, and that makes it very, very hard for us. So this way, I just say, look, let them do that, and we make up for it with the tariffs. But
will you be speaking with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum about
yeah, sure, I will. I have a lot of respect for her.
Mr. President, tariffs take effect. It'll be 20% on China now. How high are you willing to go against China?
Well, I can't say. It depends on what they do with their currency. It depends on what they do in terms of a retaliation with some kind of an economic retaliation, which I don't think they're going to retaliate too much. Hey, look, the United States has been taken advantage of for 40 years. The United States has been a laughingstock for years and years. That's why this gentleman is built in Taiwan instead of building here. It would have been better if he built here. If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them very bad on trade. Look, I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade, very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now, records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When Apple now is going to start building all of their plants here, all because of what we've done in terms of, it's not because he likes me or they like me. They don't probably like me at all. I don't know. I think he likes me a little bit at least. But you know what? It's the incentive we created or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're using them.
100%. They've gotten rich while we've gotten poor.
Have you spoken with President Xi about this?
I don't want to tell you that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I don't want to tell you that. Well, that is excellent news, you guys. Excellent news. I think that's going to probably end it there. So, very good news there, guys, coming out of the White House. They are formulating a plan to do away with, as we heard from Melania and Ted Cruz, to do away with this, essentially what it amounts to is sexual exploitation of women and children and boys. We heard that as well through sextortion schemes and AI-generated content. I don't know how this isn't just the same exact thing as producing child pornography, but it seems to me that it should be, and it should be prosecuted in the same exact way. But they're passing or promoting legislation to be passed that will allow them to take this disgusting content that does get created, to have it removed from the internet and taken down, so that people are no longer victimized in this way. Especially, we have to protect our women and our children. We have to protect even our young boys. We have to protect these innocent people that don't want this stuff out there to destroying their lives, that's basically being created by cyberbullies. So some good stuff coming there. Very, very happy for Melania Trump to be involved in that. That's really, really awesome. And then we hear from Donald Trump that he is going to be, that Taiwan is investing another $100 billion. This brings them up to close to $170 billion worth of investments into the United States, into our very own semiconductor chip factories where we can produce these things. Why is this important? They mentioned China being aggressive towards Taiwan. That is why it's important. If China takes away the abilities for the United States and then controls the semiconductor chip industry, you're at the mercy of China. I mean, it's like controlling your food. I mean, as far as technology goes, we would only be able to advance our technologies and increase our technologies and build our weapons systems, build our computers, build our cars, build our phones, build everything. We would only be able to do that stuff if China allowed it. You know, China would basically own the technological market. So Trump is taking steps, working with Taiwan, the leaders of Taiwan, as you saw, to make sure that damn near half of the production for semiconductor chips will be taking place right here in the great U.S. of A., which is going to bring a ton of new jobs. Donald Trump stated right off the bat there, at least 25,000 new jobs from the beginning, which could and should develop into more jobs. You heard him also speaking about the Honda Civic. So Honda has moved production of the Honda Civic back to the United States. It will be bringing a bunch of new jobs to the state of Indiana, which is good. Furniture production is returning to North Carolina, on and on and on. These are good things. These are huge, huge wins for the United States, for this America First agenda. We are going to be putting a lot of jobs back in the country, a lot of money back in the country's pocket. People demonized tariffs. Tariffs are bad. They're going to destroy the country. But yet, tariffs are what's bringing all this industry right back to the great U.S. of A. Well, how is that bad? Nothing about that's bad at all. Trump did speak briefly there on the whole Zelensky raw earth mineral deals that have been talked about. Basically, he's alluding to the fact that Zelensky doesn't want to end the war. And Trump's not interested in prolonging the war. He's not interested in supporting it or prolonging it or being any part of it, so long as the goal is not to end it as quickly as possible and to come to a deal with Russia and with Ukraine. But you see all over the internet, the Ukrainian people are literally being snatched off the streets. They are totally against this. There's videos showing that the people in the villages in the towns and the cities are actually fighting their own military. They're in mob-style fashion, beating down their own military officials as they try to kidnap young people off the streets to put them on the front lines of this Russia-Ukraine war. So the people of Ukraine don't want this. You know, New York City, just the other day, I wanted to show this. Here's the Democrats of New York City in full support. Here you are, all of you people standing out here with Ukraine flags draped over your shoulders and shaking your fist at Donald Trump when he's trying to end the deaths of civilians and military-aged people in Ukraine. He wants to end the bloodshed, end the violence, end the death, and you got all these people calling to prolong it. Prolong it. Stand with Zelensky, who wants the fight to continue. I mean, this is disgusting. You know what? Zelensky also signed a bill saying that anybody who wants to from any other nation can come and sign up and be a part of their military and fight against Russia. Why are y'all standing here in Times Square? You could be over there making a difference. Put your money where your mouth is while you shake your fist at our president. How about put your country first for a change and put an American flag around your shoulders instead of that Ukrainian flag? That'd be a step in the right direction for this country in a huge way. But are they going to do it? Very unlikely. What am I talking about when I say they're pulling people off the streets, guys? I'm talking about this right here. They'll pull up in vans. They pull up in cars. And they'll snatch these young people walking down the streets, snatch them right off the streets. And here's what happens when the citizens fight back. The citizens are done with this. These are citizens literally fighting against their own military officials to keep their kids and their husbands and their uncles and their brothers from being forced into this endless meat grinder of a war. But they're just snatch them right off the streets here, you see. We don't make this up. This is really happening every day over there. Every day. They pulled him out of the van. Wait, there's one more. You got to get him out. Got to get him out. They got him out. Nope, here he comes. Get out of here. He's like, no, I'm not going to your front lines. I'm not doing that. Need to end this. And they do need to end it, guys. They need to end it quickly, and they need to end it without more bloodshed and more violence. But are they going to do that? Oh, well, we don't know. We don't know. We're hoping so. Here's Tulsi Gabbard speaking on this.
Here is something that
very
the
same
political
topic.
Establishment and propaganda media don't want you to know. Ukraine's President Zelensky has just banned yet another political opposition party, one that questioned his legitimacy as president, and used Ukraine's Department of Justice to mandate the seizure of this party's members' assets. Now, this is just the latest of Zelensky's actions to do this sort of thing. He began banning major political opposition parties in 2022, when he also started banning TV channels that were associated with his political opponents. And he took over total control of Ukraine's largest television networks, now controlled by their government. Zelensky's presidential term ended on May 20th. He canceled elections in the name of martial law, suspending Ukraine's constitution so that he could stay in power. Now, defenders of Zelensky will say, hey, Ukraine is in the middle of a war. They can't have elections. Just stop for a moment and think, if we accept that excuse or criteria for suspending the Constitution and canceling elections, then we should presume that leaders in our own country and our own establishment media will also use this same excuse and rationale when they suspend our Constitution and our elections, since we too are at war with Russia and China. If you think this sounds crazy, look at what's already going on. They've already started conditioning us to accept a dictatorship by rationalizing their own use of our Department of Justice
100%.
to target President Trump and other political enemies in their efforts to stay in power.
That's what we can't allow to happen, guys. These people are fighting for our freedoms, and yet you've got these people on the left fighting for the tyranny to continue. I mean, think about what they're mad about at this point. They're mad that corruption and overspending and your tax dollars are being exposed as having been used fraudulently. They don't want you. They're mad about that. We don't want Donald Trump finding corruption. We don't want Elon Musk finding out that our tax dollars have been used in illegal manners and in corrupt manners. We don't want that stuff. They're mad about Donald Trump wanting to end the war, to end bloodshed and violence, and to preserve life. They're mad about that. I mean, it does not matter what this administration does. The left is going to continue to be very, very angry about it. But understand this. I had some family members asking me over the weekend, do you think that Donald Trump's still being supported? Do you think, because I'm seeing all these people on the left saying that it's this way or it's that way or that this is bad and that's bad. The mainstream media is lying to you. Guys, I say this every episode. The mainstream media is lying to you. They do not report on the facts. They cherry pick only what they want to put out there to drive a narrative. That's all they're doing. They're driving a narrative. And what narrative? The narrative that is feeding their pockets, the people behind the narrative, rather, that are feeding and funding and fattening their wallets. These people are liars. They're outright liars. The vast majority of Americans voted for this. The majority of Americans voted for the things that are going on within this administration. The majority of Americans are still behind the things that are going on within this administration. The majority of Americans do not support Ukraine, this endless war in Ukraine. The majority of Americans are actually starting to not even support Zelensky anymore. So as you see these protests taking place, understand It's all propaganda. These are paid for. Most of them are paid for, and those that are there on their own will are just blind to what's actually happening, incapable of seeing the truth for what it is, incapable of looking at history and the facts that exist that absolutely speak against this narrative that's being pushed. Here's a perfect example of that, where CNN has to swallow their pride and report something that they probably didn't want to have to report on, and that is the waning support for this whole Ukraine thing.
Holy Toledo, look at this trend line here. U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. Back when the war began, back in February of 2022, it was just 7%. Up like a rocket ship, my goodness. Up now in February of 2025 to 41%. And the clear majority of Republicans, and of course Republicans are in charge of the U.S. government now, 62% of Republicans say that the U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. What a difference from just 3 years ago. I can remember, John, all those backyards in the United States with those Ukrainian flags. Far fewer of them today, as Americans' opinions on Ukraine have changed dramatically.
What about opinions of the Ukrainian president?
Right. You know, obviously, if you would expect changes amongst the public on feelings towards Ukraine, feelings towards Zelensky have changed also dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72% through the floor. Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. And GOP confidence has also plummeted dramatically. Now the clear majority of Republicans are not confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs.
He's proven that. He's proven that he will not do the right thing. He proved that on Friday when he sat there in the Oval Office and demanded that the war continue. He does not want diplomacy. He said that himself. What is this diplomacy you speak of, JD? He doesn't want diplomacy. What is a ceasefire? Every time Trump mentioned ceasefire, every time Trump mentioned ending the war, every time Vance mentioned diplomacy or ending the war, Zelensky rolled his eyes, shrugged his shoulders, scoffed. This man does not want this war to end. Sorry, Tulsi. We've heard from you already. He does not want this war to end. And anybody that thinks he does is absolutely crazy. What are the Actually, I'm not going to show this guy. He's got too much profanity on that video. But let's see. There was another video that I wanted to show you right quick. Here that where did it go? Here. So here is Zelensky basically saying that he wants this war to go on and on and on as long as necessary.
And, we are very happy in Ukraine that we have such strategic partners. We signed with you historic documents. 100-year agreement. Yeah, we have only with you such documents with the United Kingdom. So we're happy and we count on your support and really.
And as we heard earlier, that document he's talking about was for rare earth minerals that the UK actually signed, giving them 100 years of support and protection back in January. You know, people say that Trump and J.D. Vance were being mean and they were bullying, but most people have only seen like 10 minutes, the very last 10 minutes. And that was during the part where Trump was telling him, hold on, you don't talk to us like this and all that. So most of these people that you see running their mouths out there on the social media have not actually watched the entire video. Guys, if you want to see the entire interview, the entire little roundtable session in the Oval Office that took place between Zelensky, Trump, and Vance, look at last week's Southern Draw podcast episode from Friday. We posted the whole thing. It's about 40 minutes long. And you will see clearly on that video that Trump and Vance were very supportive of making a peace deal, getting this peace deal signed, making sure that the war ended. But every time they mentioned ending the war, you got reactions like you're about to see here from Zelensky, who has absolutely no interest whatsoever in ending the war.
The rebuilding. And
Keir Starmer at the White House this past week.
This country have an obligation to do that. Plus,
I wouldn't end President Zelensky.
Wait, for both. I want to get it solved, but I want to see it get solved.
May I follow up? One more question. In the future.
I'm very, but we have put in far more than they have. And I
Mr. President,
please go ahead.
Ask you about the agreement again today. What changed?
I'm going to be very nice. Run by today, and we thought they took it very, very much too far. JD was the agreement. Yeah, we're signing an agreement. I just told you I don't think that's going to happen. And if that were going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. If I thought that was going to happen, tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that. But
I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate.
to dictate what we're going to feel.
Offer some more.
You got to be more. You don't have the cards. With us, you have Obama. They respect. Let me tell you, Putin, all I can say is this. He might have empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without, I think it's going to be pretty. But you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards.
Yeah, the entire time. That's just the little cuts over the course of 40 minutes where this man didn't take seriously anything that was being said in there because he has no intentions of diplomacy. He has no intentions of ending the war. He has no intentions whatsoever of signing a peace deal. He wants this war to keep going. As long as the war keeps going, he stays in power. Money keeps flowing, and he keeps funneling it to places that benefit him and other powerful people. That's the deal. That's the deal Zelensky wants. Not one that takes away the funding from him and ends the war and ends his limelight on the stage where he gets to go around and collect all this money from all these people. Zelensky claims to care about his people, and I even said during this interview, well, I respect him for being passionate about his people, but man, the more that's come out over the weekend, everything that's come out over the weekend was from his shady meeting with the EU Council and the NATO members, trying to undercut any kind of peace agreement that could take place. I mean, they've basically ensured that peace agreements and ceasefires are going to be very hard to accomplish now because they are now the aggressors. They've pushed that. They've made that a fact. They've made themselves the aggressors. And you've got people like Trump said, look, we're not friends. We're not allies with Ukraine or Russia. We're business partners with them, and we need to work out a deal with both of them to end the violence, end the death, end the destruction, and make a deal that allows commerce and economical advancements between both nations. And that benefits everyone. That benefits the whole European nation. That benefits the United States in the long run. It benefits the world to be at peace. Who makes money? Who benefits from endless wars? Only the big corporations that you heard RFK talk about earlier. Those are the people that benefit from these endless wars. The people that make money off of the war machine, off of the weapons manufacturing. Those are the people making money off of these endless wars. So who else gets paid off from that? Well, the people that make the wars possible. That's who. That's who gets paid off. Who's making the war possible now? Well, the guy advocating for no ceasefire, no peace deal. That's who's making money off of the war right now. The leaders of other nations that are siding against and provoking Russia and making sure that this all stays right where they want it. Right where they want it. A raging battle that produces lots and lots of money. These are the people who make all the money. These are the people pushing an endless, forever war. They don't care about us little guys on the street. They don't care about regular citizens who are just struggling to survive and take care of families. Why would they? You're peasants to them. These people are on ivory towers way up above you, looking down on you while they conduct the world by pulling on different puppet strings. This man singularly has roped the United States, all of Europe, Russia, all together into one big war that only a few people benefit from. A few people. A few very rich, wealthy, powerful people. Not me and you. Mainstream media's complicit in this, and they're driving the narrative, guys. That's just what I think, guys. Very good interview from Trump. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream here. You jump in, and if we see anything else developing, we will jump back on and try to cover it. As you may know or may not know, tomorrow, March 4th, will be Trump's big address to Congress. So the Congress address will be taking place. Trump has already said that there are some very big announcements coming via this address. He spoke specifically about that, said that he's got some big things to say, and he's going to tell it like it is, he says. He's going to tell it like it is. Here's Trump on social media, or on Truth Social, rather, excuse me. And he says, where's it go? Hold on. We should spend less time worrying about. Yeah, this was a day ago. Where is it? See, I'll let you guys see some of this because it's all here on. Tomorrow night will be big, he says. I will tell it like it is. So that's from Truth Social. That was posted this morning by Donald J. Trump. I'm excited to see what he's got to talk about. I'm hoping he's going to talk about some of this here. As he mentioned in the press conference there, Ukraine, Zelensky says the end of war with Russia is very, very far away. By whose design? By whose design? Because Russia was willing to deal. The United States is willing to deal. The UK, well, some of them in the UK seem to be willing to deal. Whereas others, including Justin Trudeau from Canada, are backing this forever war for some reason. It's kind of scary. Why are you doing that? Donald Trump says the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing, and Europe, in the meeting they had with Zelensky, stated flatly that they cannot do the job without the U.S. Probably not a great statement to have made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? I gotta echo that, man. Like, what are they thinking? Because quite honestly, it seems like the only thing they're thinking about is how to keep this war machine, how to keep the tracks greased and keep everything moving forward, the train moving on down the tracks. Like I said, guys, only a few very, very important, very wealthy, very powerful people benefit from this war continuing. Everyone else suffers. That's just what I think, guys. We'll be back later if anything else develops. In the meantime, thank you for joining us right here on Southern Traditions for the Southern Drawl Podcast. Until we see you again, guys, be free, be blessed. Peace.